you're never going to fully get rid of negativity in your offices or bad employees, bad managers. And it's always going to be a thing that comes and goes throughout your organization. So a lot of it is we have dedicated account managers, and they're all about client focus, and our CSRs are about the caller focus. And quite often the two departments will butt heads, and we're constantly doing things to get them to work together and bring the CSRs into the meetings with account managers. Have a CSR do a presentation for the client, and we have to do a walkthrough of the account so that the clients or the account managers and the CSRs can start to really build that relationship and that rapport, and that kind of helps get rid of the negative feedback, as well as when they see and they're part of the big picture, and they know what's going on, because sometimes there's just things that are happening that the individuals don't know about. So that if they're involved in the decision making, or if they're involved in the investigating, that may kind of break down some of those barriers and reduce that negativity between the two departments. And there's a few questions here that are all kind of tied together to a degree. So there seems to be less communication from management, and when things change, they're not always communicated, as well as, managers are very busy these days in Zoom meetings and team meetings. They're not available as much as we would want them to be to support us. So maybe Danielle or Kelly, one of you, or Kelly, you can start with this time. Just kind of touch on all of that together. Just try to move through some of the questions there.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, for our communications organizations, sometimes we do struggle to communicate policies and procedures appropriately. So we've tried to put in things in our organizations to give multiple avenues for us to reach our staff members. For instance, like policy changes and things like that. I have our policy handbook shared throughout the organization on a shared drive. They can access it at any time. When a policy is updated, I update that, and I send out a notice that, hey, we've updated this. Take a look at the policy procedure handbook. I've gone as far as sending the same message via email, via Teams, via text message, via message in their account, trying to touch on all the different ways that each person might need to be communicated with. Not everybody prefers Teams. Not everybody prefers email. I have some people that very rarely check their company email, and I know that, so I'm trying different avenues to reach them with my communication. Yeah, it's a tall order sometimes because I have to remember multiple different ways to reach staff members, but it's an effort that's worth taking if you want to make sure the information is passed down. Certainly I'm always looking for ways to improve that, and I utilize my managers. If hey, can you reach out to your team? So like I pass it to them and they pass it down to their team. That helps a lot too, because it's an overwhelming task sometimes to make sure everybody's on the same page. But I would say just using multiple avenues is a great way to make sure you reach everybody.
Yeah, I think Kelly covered that part really good. In terms of managers being in Zoom meetings, I can speak for myself at my company. I still take calls when it gets very busy. I was trained when I was an operator and an assistant supervisor, whatever, to always keep, we call it the alerts chart, so you can see how long the calls have been waiting. I try to keep that up. I moved my windows on my computer around so I can see it almost all throughout my whole day. But there's still times that I can't answer, that I can't go in and take calls. And there's still times that I might get a call to my own desk phone or whatever. And part of that is improving the perception, right, of whoever's making the complaint, that who you're complaining about, here's some circumstances that you might not have pictured. The other side of it is the people who are in the Zoom meetings maybe could be more cognizant of that. Maybe they need to have somebody sit out, or maybe they have to stagger breaks so that while they're doing that, there's enough people to cover the calls. Maybe if it's quite short-handed that day, they move the meeting. Not all of those are possible, right? But sometimes they might be, and sometimes it's a matter of saying, here's a way you've heard this complaint and try to do something with it, right? Like you can't always, maybe not everything's as flexible as that, but at least sometimes it's about the perception of, we've heard it and we're trying, right? That's my input.